Hi, Regina. Am I sitting on these? Hi, everybody. There's a whole situation. You have the fancy dress for a situation. It's good. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for joining us for this special broadcast. Thank you, Regina, for bringing us together today.
Thanks. Thanks
We're going to
for having me here.
We're going to talk for a few minutes to close out today's event.
I'm going to sit here so that I can see you.
Find your spot.
Oh, that's so much fun.
So you've said, in fact, when I talked to you recently, you said that you had the title for this album long before you knew what the record was going to be. So what is it? What is this title? What does this mean to you? What does what we saw from the Cheap Seats mean? If that was where you started for this whole project.
Oh God, why are you asking such hard questions? Actually, I don't think I like talking that much about lyrics or concepts or anything that is kind of people's internal things, like presence to have. I feel like it's like taking away people's presence. And I would feel that way if people explained their titles and their lyrics to me. I don't ever want to know. So I feel like it's just kind of, the whole point of it is that it's for each person to have and for each person to kind of, I don't know, whatever, hate or like or relate to or not.
So I don't know if this still goes into too much information. But these
I'm
songs,
not like a secret agent, I swear, but I am a pain in the butt.
She's really a spy. These songs, some of the songs on the record you've been playing for a while.
Yeah.
Some people have heard and seen. Some are new. How do you know which songs are going to play together nice? How do you know what's actually going to sit together and make any sense?
Oh, I don't know that. I don't know that kind of stuff. You know what happens is there's like this giant pile of songs that is waiting their turn in my mind to get recorded properly and to kind of so that I could arrange them and make them kind of their own thing, and they're sort of waiting their turn because right now they're stuck in like this purgatory of just piano and me and like my bedroom. And so every time I get to make a record, I look and it's like an internment camp, and I'm like, 12 of you or whatever get to come out and like, and so it's kind of hard. But then there are some songs that I've been like wanting to put on a record for a really long time, and every time I'm in the studio, I'm like, okay, this time you're gonna get to come out. And then I try to record them, and it just, for whatever reason, doesn't feel right, or I'm not in the right headspace, or something about it is just not right. So then I just kind of try and just do the things that feel right in that moment. And then also, sometimes in the search for sounds for things in the production, we'll stumble onto some really cool sound that will make me think of a song that I maybe hadn't planned to rescue at all. And then I'm like, oh, cool. Like, this song gets to come out even though it wasn't planned on.
Some new ones out to play.
Yeah.
Stuck inside. Yeah. So I've been thinking about your voice. This record's been making me think about your voice.
God, I'm sorry.
I feel like there's more different things that you do in your singing and on this record than any one piece before. Do you feel like you're still exploring and discovering things, places your singing can go? Yeah,
I think that like everything that you are kind of comes through your voice, and I think it's also with talking. We all kind of change our voices depending on the situation. I think if we're intimidated or if we're really angry, and our whole way of expressing, it's like the thing that makes us besides sometimes being really evil, it's like the thing that makes us kind of different from animals, is that we can talk to each other in words, and I think that inevitably, as we live life, so many things happen, amazing things, tragic things. I think like every minute that goes by, our entire being kind of changes and gets added onto, and then so, of course, that comes through the voice. So I feel like even songs that maybe I wrote like 10 or 11 years ago, they're new to me because of how my voice is, just because of like living life and experiencing life. So I'm really excited when I'm really old and I'm all like, sing all my songs is like in an old lady voice.
But there are those singers who get, it really changes and they become a different kind of a singer.
Joni Mitchell is like that. And I love that record that she made where she revisited her songs, and like both sides now, like in her new voice, is just like, oh, so amazing. It's like there's life. Like that's an entire life talking to you, You don't have to have a conversation with musicians. You could just listen to them sing a song in the moment, and then like kind of them,
I don't exactly know if this makes sense. You'll tell me if this makes sense. But I feel like even more than with most people, there's, your songs, there's the way they would be written down, what the notes would be, and then there's what comes out of you. And there's all these, we heard in these songs here, the dips and swoops and sounds and all of these things that aren't just about sort of interpreting those notes, but really like that's what those songs are. Do you feel your way through, when you talked about how things change in the arrangement, in your vocal arrangement, do you try different things and see what comes, or does it just sort of happen and then you're like, oh, I guess that's what that song's supposed to do?
Yeah, I think it's more the second thing, but it's one of those things that I think in my mind I've come to realize that songs are like Jell-O, and that once they set, like as you're writing them, they're sort of like, you could drop weird things in them, but then once they set, like they're stuck.
Is that a regret, or is that?
I don't know. Is Jell-O ever a regret?
I think Jell-O's ever wrong, right? But you can put the pineapple in there, or put the weird stuff in the Jell-O so you can change it up. That's
Yeah, alcohol.
There it is. Regina Spektor, my songs are like Jell-O shots. There you go. So do you, whenever you talk about music, I hear you talk about the Beatles, I hear you talk about Bob Dylan, I hear you talk about Joni Mitchell. I know you've said music kind of gets to you in funny ways. Do you feel like you listen to new stuff? Do you care to try to keep up? Is it just kind of whatever filters to you is what gets there? As a listener, what's your...
I think I'm in a perpetual state of catching up, and I think it has to do with just maybe getting here at like almost 10, and then being in the like kind of also like immigrant world, so it took me years to like oh, what is Nirvana, like, but so I'm always like very, very behind. I mean, I think I like found out about like David Bowie and U2 when I was like 24. So it's like, it's not, so I think that I definitely, I'm very happy when like things fall into my field of vision that are really great, that are new, but I feel like so much, I feel so bombarded by modernness that a lot of the time I just like, and there's so much great music that everything from classical music to all jazz and all that amazing music of the 50s and the 60s, that there's like, I don't know, I'm not up to date yet, and a lot of the time, not, sometimes I start to feel like, oh, I'm so cynical, I don't seem to like much new stuff, and then I'll hear something and I'll really like it, but I don't know, it's almost like the stuff that came before, there's just so much freedom and spirit in it, and I feel like it's harder for stuff like that to make it through to my field of vision now that's like modern. I think it's harder just for it to make it.
Well, and also that's the stuff that survives. That's
Right,
what's
it's
still
been
there.
vetted,
And like now you just get, I mean, my 9-year-old is convinced that like every record that came out in 1971 must have been amazing. Because the ones that he hears, Stevie Wonder and Led Zeppelin, he's like, well, there were a lot of lousy records then too. This is just what's still.
Okay, can I just say that he's so lucky to have you as a dad. He's gonna have like the best taste in music. Just the fact that he's like little and listening to those people is cool.
He'll run screaming. He'll turn into a, Carly Rae Jepsen fan or something soon enough. I just wait around.
I don't know who that is. Who is that? I feel like I should laugh, but I'm not in on the joke. I am the joke.
Better that way. It's all right. So whenever one of the standard things written in the Regina profile is always talks about your classical training and studying. How do you feel that stuff comes out in what it is that you do now?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like the luckiest person in the world that I got to study classical music. I feel like, I don't know, it's just like so much of my heart and my mind is just like owned by that continent, and it's so vast and it's so interesting and it's so beautiful and emotional, and there's so much scope, there's so much different kinds of classical music, and I don't know, I just feel very lucky. I'm always so grateful. I mean, to me it's where my heart is.
So you're recently back from these shows with Tom Petty, from playing in rooms that are about 100 times what you're playing in front of right here.
I've forgotten what faces look like.
What did you learn from playing in those kinds of rooms? I mean, does it have anything to do with what it is that you usually do, or is it like a totally different job to get in those?
Well, I was terrified before then, and I think Tom was kind of terrified too, because he was like preparing me. He's like, maybe they won't listen. I'm worried about you. And I was like, no, like I like being a motherfucker, like I could do it, so I'm like, get me at him, I want to try. And then it was, I sort of like prepared myself to like do battle and try to play my quiet songs and all this stuff. And then you get there, and like the first time that you see like, an arena, you're just can't believe it. And it's crazy looking, like it truly is. I mean, I'm not like a sports goer, so I don't ever like go to those places. So to be in that environment is just insane to me. I don't understand how anybody is in there. But then I got there and I was like, oh God, and then the people were so nice, and his, like, first of all, like him and the band were like, I don't know, I could talk about them for an hour. They're like the nicest, most talented, kind-hearted people ever, and happen to make some of the greatest music ever, so that kind of works out really well. And then like all the crew was amazing, and all the people that came to the shows were supportive and great. And I think like by the third time I was just like, oh, this is a nice room. Yeah, you just like come, and it's amazing what your mind will get used to. It truly is. It's like, there were some we were talking about this with the band, where like at first we'd go in and we'd look, what size place is this, what, we'd play like ice rinks and shit, like hockey rinks, and then like by the middle of the tour, like sometimes we wouldn't even like check it out until sound check. I was like, what is happening to our mind, but you just get used to things. And I think that's one of the gifts, is that you get used to good stuff, you get used to bad stuff, and your perspective changes so much. That's why it's so important to constantly be put into new situations and to constantly be connecting with people, not to be in any sort of a bubble, because it is really easy just to, whether if it's like work, homework, or like commute, or whatever it is that everybody, we all do, you just get into a bubble and you have to get out of it. You have to go like to a mountain or like, you know. So.
You haven't always felt that. I mean, I remember when we talked on the last record, you were like, it was a big deal to get out of the city to do anything. Like you just thought, I'm in the city, everything's here, everything I could need, why would I go anywhere?
Yeah, because I was crazy. You don't do that. You don't listen to people like me. like that is an insane statement to make, you know. But I think that is sort of one of the things that I've been learning is that like you can get used to something and you get stuck, and then so you have to like, even if you think I don't need to leave, like that means you really do need to leave. Like that is the exact sign that you need to leave.
So did you learn anything about the songs, putting them into that? I mean, do you just like, once you've got the thing, keep your head down and play, and they either go over or they don't go over? Or did you find something else out about what these songs are from seeing them in that crazy kind of a setting?
You know, I don't know. I mean, it was instantly really fun, and I sort of prepared myself for the fact that nobody would listen, and then people would really listen, and so it felt awesome. But I think more than anything, more than like songs, because it's kind of, they are what they are, you know what I mean? Like, and in different moods and in different states of mind, or different blood sugar levels, they are different to me every time, which is good, which is why I don't ever get sick of playing them for now. I don't know if that ever happens. I'm not going to play them anymore, but so far they're always new, which I'm like really grateful for. But I think that the thing that happens is I just learn stuff like for myself, like for my own life, which is one of the big lessons I've been trying to learn that I think it really helped me going on that tour was that, you know, I think coming from classical music and having these songs that are so specific, I do tend to like want things to be like a piano recital. I'm like, this has to be perfect. Like this is my Olympic moment. Like rah, rah, rah. You know, and then like I think that just you know, seeing a band like their band is just like they are perfect every time, and they're not insane. So it's kind of cool. Like there's like this joy in rock and roll that like I'm not, you know, doing somersaults at an Olympics. I'm just playing songs, and like luckily I can't kill anybody playing them. Like there's no danger to anyone. Like if I play a wrong note, like nothing's gonna happen, you know. And I've sort of been learning that, and I think it really helped me going on that tour, just because I would play my show, it would be shorter than my own show, and then I would just dance my ass off for like 2 hours to all of their awesome songs. So I think just having like my insanity and nerves like tempered with like just fun and like sweaty dancing was really good.
Do you go straight back into writing, you know, once the record's done, once the thing is up and out, once you're out of this week? Do you go straight back in? Can you do it while you're doing other work, or does it all have to kind of, you know, once tour's done, once you're back home, once you resettle, is there a rhythm to when the writing happens, or does it happen when your brain opens?
Yeah, there's no rhythm to anything. There's just, it's one of those things where I think at first, when I first started writing songs, I wrote like a ton of them, and then I got into SUNY Purchase, and they went to college, and they thought, I'm going to learn about music. And I couldn't write for the first like 6 or 7 months that I got there, and I was like, that's it, I'm broken, I'll never write again, you know. You know, all this real learning ruined me, and, you know, I should have just stayed home and become a bum and written all these songs. And then this thing happened where all those months went by, and then I started writing again, and it was like a new kind of songs that I'd never written before. And I sort of from then on was just like, oh, there's never like such a thing as you write or you don't write. You just kind of write as life happens, and when it's time to write. And then when you're not writing, you just do other stuff. So you live your life. So I think that because of that, you know, I just always, you know, sometimes I'll write like 3 songs at the same time while like touring in like a hotel room. And other times I won't, you know, I'll have all the time in the world and I'll just like watch movies and more movies. I love movies. But, you know, I think that's kind of, it just happens when it happens. But at least now I don't like freak out that like I'm broken or something.
And then watching movies is part of the work anyway. I mean, I think that's, you have to get over that and say, it's all got to come in if it's going to come out, right?
Yeah, you can't just write. Otherwise, like, that's when you get like all those songs about the road. Wheels turning, you know, loading, that kind of stuff.
They say that's it. They say if you got to write what you know, and that's all you know at the moment, that's
Yeah.
the walls start closing in on you really fast. I lost my luggage.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
So is it always going to be different playing in New York? Here we are on fabulous 9th Avenue. Is it always going to be a different feeling when you're playing at home?
Yeah, every time. Everything is different at home. Like as soon as, you know, I love traveling so much, and I'm always so happy to go on tour, and I'm always so happy to like go just traveling, not on tour, but like as a person. But there's this thing that happens when you land back in New York, and then you see that first like green street sign with the white numbers or letters, or depends how far away you landed. And it's just like, there's like this way that I get, which is just like, oh, I'm home. And, you know, when I play New York, it's like, oh, my family is here. So it's just like extra, you know. When I know they're there, it's like, oh, like they were there at Fallon yesterday, and I was like, Mom, Dad, you're over there.
That can be
terrifying.
Yeah, that can be so many things.
But it's cool. It's like it's terrifying and cool, but it's more cool.
At this point, we're just talking because I have no idea how long we're supposed to stay up here. So it's fine. I can be with you for hours, but it's.
Does anybody have the time?
I can see the time.
I think we have 1
Well,
minute.
if that's on the clock.
It's 4:15.
Tell me about, especially since we have a single with a chorus in French going here. Tell me about. I know people have raised this recently about language for you, because you go in and out of different languages in different songs, and actual words and nonverbal words sometimes. What is, you know, I want to say, what's your relationship to language in these songs, but when you're trying to communicate these ideas, what is it to, you know, that you do sort of go in and out of these different vocabularies and different things? Is that?
Yeah, I think that, at least in like, and I don't know that many languages. I mean, I only know Russian and English fluently. I butcher French, and I destroy Hebrew, and that's it. I have 4, so 2 bad ones and two okay ones, and so. But the thing that I really notice, and I experienced this even just while like immigrating as a little kid, was that you get to, you know, because the first place we went to outside of Moscow was Vienna, and I was just listening to German, and then we went to Italy, to La Dispoli, and we were there for a while before we were allowed into New York. And so, you know, I picked up a lot of Italian, and the thing that I noticed was that language is so subjective, because everybody, you know, that everybody is like smart and trying to communicate what they feel inside, but they don't understand each other at all. And, you know, watching, you know, 2 really intelligent people like my parents just not know basic communication skills in these countries, and just, you know, as a little kid, when you watch your parents struggle, it's kind of heartbreaking and hard, but it's also, you kind of learn to see, oh yeah, this whole thing is just kind of agreed upon. It's not real, you know. Reality is just us being here in the world, and the things that we feel in this moment, and there's so much body language, there's so much things happening all around. Everything is sort of this kind of cool, curated experience, you know. And I'm not like saying like Truman Show curated, but I mean, if you have a starting point and an end point, it is an experience. And also, different languages come with the feelings, and the feelings could be subjective. They could be your association. Like, I grew up in Russia, where we had World War II movies like every 5 seconds. So German to me was like a terrifying language. And, you know, Italian, because I experienced it, it's like a cartoony language. So, like, I've forever associated with, like, all the Fellini movies. I've seen all this other stuff, and, you know, an opera. And I think that then you could use language the way that people use collage out of different things. You could use sounds and language to just briefly draw a certain association, and it'll be different for different people. But I really love using whatever little bits of language I have, because it feels like another tool, like it's like another instrument, you know. It's like, oh, I can't play trumpet, but well, actually I can, but but I could play, you know, this French phrase or something.
I mean, do you think the music and the playing meant something different to you, you know, from going in and out? I mean, from seeing, it's not arbitrary, but from seeing that, like you said, the language is not a fixed rules. It depends where you happen to land.
Yeah, I think that if you know, I mean, I remember learning English, which is like a weird thing now that I speak it and I think in it and everything, but I remember being like, tan, and, you know, like, and it's just like, but, you know, much older than you're supposed to be when you do that. And so, to me, it was just like, oh, everything is a sound. And, you know, being surrounded by people who have accents, and it's very arbitrary. It's all subjective. So I think that the more, and I love people that experiment in general with everything. That's why, like, I love the Beatles, and I love Prokofiev, and I love anyone who plays around with stuff. So to me, it's like, oh, you know, sound, of course. Like, it's right here, you know, you could do anything.
So I have to ask, if you don't mind, we're now getting very close to the Russia trip. You go next month?
Yeah, I go out, wait, what is this month?
We're in June.
June. Yes, I go next month.
And you haven't been back since?
89.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's part of the reason why I haven't gone yet. It's so overwhelming. It's like my mind just goes. But I'm really excited to discover what it's like now, and to go there with music is kind of the best way you could possibly imagine going. I mean, when I left, it was Soviet Union, and there was really, at that time, it was closed, and there was no way to ever get back, and I understood that. So it was like a goodbye forever kind of thing. So to come back and play music, it's kind of just very overwhelming and obviously emotional, and, you know. So I usually tend to put overwhelming and emotional things off. But I think like 22 years is kind of a good number.
It feels about right.
Yeah.
Well, this is a big one. This is not a small, it's not a little jump.
All right.
Well, we end there anyway. They gave me the hook over there. They gave me the sign. Everybody, thank you for staying with us. The new album, What We Saw from the Cheap Seats, one more time. Regina Spektor. Thank you.